Jaw, but as you say, there is a lot of room for play. Xantid Swarm is one way, Guttural Response is another. He has access to both of those cards. His opponent, Tran, is playing Painted Stone. This is the blue-red version. We saw the Imperial Recruiter version, the mono-red version. This one uses the blue for all of the usual suspects, Brainstorm and Force of Will, but it also has the awesomeness of Transmute Artifact to be a pseudo-tinker.
Yeah, I happen to know actually that Dustin Klopping dispatched an Imperial Painter player just last round to advance to undefeated. We have exactly 3 undefeated players left, unless you want to count Kevin Gerhardt, who is technically undefeated, although he has picked up a draw.
Technically undefeated. Sounds like not undefeated to me.
He hasn't lost. I'm just holding true to the terms.
And Sensei's Divining Top is the opening play here off of an island for Tran.
Yeah, Nam no doubt fetching an island because he doesn't know what his opponent's actually playing. Otherwise, he'd have certainly been a little more interested in Volcanic Island, probably. Dustin has the Taiga naturally. Is he going to go for a turn 1? It's an intimidating thing to do against Island Sensei's Divining Top, but he doesn't know that his opponent is actually one of the more vulnerable decks to Charbelcher as far as decks that play islands and tops.
He's starting to go for it.
Poetic Ritual casts a land grant for
nothing.
The Storm. Yeah, he's just storming. He already has his Taiga here, and I imagine he's going to be emptying for what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 copies of Empty the Warrens will give him 8 goblins.
He does have 3 Empty the Warrens in his main.
Yep.
I was talking earlier with another Charbelcher player that was in the booth with us, Cedric Phillips. He'll be back next round, about how some people have played this deck with 0 cards in their sideboard, mostly because this is a deck that really, really doesn't want to get gummed up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye, Spirit Guide.
Nam going ahead and confirming everything. At this point, there's not really much as far as bluffing to go on here. Nam can kind of rep a force, but Dustin's already all in. He showed his hand. He's like, yeah, this is all I can do. I'm just gonna try and make a bunch of goblins, hope they kill you.
Brainstorm, Grim Monolith, Intuition, Transmute Artifact.
Yep. Nam does not actually have access to any kills. He's popping his top in response, and then Empty the Warrens is coming down.
Lots of little goblins. Storm, a mechanic that when it debuted back in Time Spiral Land, a lot of people just felt like it's either going to be broken or it's going to be not good.
Well, I guess we rapidly figured out which one it was. Yep, 8 goblins as predicted. And now Nam will be trying to put together a combo kill before the 8 goblins kill him in 3 turns.
It's a pretty short clock.
Yep. He can recast his top here, but I think that's going to be a little slow. I think he has to Brainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a format of greed, if you ask me. Main phase Brainstorm, a good way to get things started. He does have 3 Ancient Tombs and 1 City of Traders as a means to accelerate. So if he drew that, that would be an excellent draw to get the Grim Monolith out this turn as well. I think I see a City of Traders, I could be wrong.
I know I saw a Grindstone, so he's getting there.
I think I was wrong on that land.
Yeah. Looks like Goblin Welder, Grindstone, and another Transmute Artifact are his draws with the Brainstorm. That's going to actually almost wrap him up here, as he has to put 2 cards back for his Brainstorm. He knows what he's going to be drawing over the next 2 turns, and he's just going to get attacked by all these goblins.
That's what we call Brainstorm Lock.
Yep. He'll have a chance maybe to naturally top his way through for a draw off the top, but he would not be able to activate most of the cards he could try and kill anyone with.
And Dustin untaps. Another 8 about to come on in. Here they come.
I don't even know if Dustin's looking at his draw steps at this point. He appears to just be taking the cards off the top and putting them face down in front of him. I'll consult these when they might become relevant.
And that's all she wrote for this one.
Yep, no lands on top, and Nam is done.
Yeah, one of the things that when people look at older deck lists from the ancient days, they sometimes say, how come no one played Brainstorm? It was legal. Well, one of the reasons people didn't play Brainstorm is there were very few shuffle effects, and most of them were pretty terrible. And you see what happens with a Brainstorm when you get no shuffle effects. It's pretty wretched.
Yeah, it saw a little bit of play when it came back around in like Mercadian Masks era standard, but not really a ton. And then, it was mostly just a fixer and setup card in a lot of matchups. Not the high-powered card we have come to know in the Legacy format.
The big way to shuffle was thawing glaciers, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And now, if you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, and I'm here in the booth with Glenn Jones, and Cedric Phillips is taking a well-deserved rest this round.
Deserved, at least.
Well...
Earned, merited.
This is round 7 of 9 of the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Cleveland. Make sure you join us on Twitter at SCG Live. That gets to every single one of us here, and we do pay attention to that Twitter feed. Hashtag SCGCLE. And right up on the left, Dustin Klopping trying to be a 7-0 player. His opponent, Nam Tran, down a game, also trying to be 7-0. These two combo decks both have the ability to kill in one fell swoop. Dustin Klopping, if he was playing against the Imperial Painter version of this deck, would be even a stronger favorite than I think he might already be, but Force of Will is a part of the cards that Nam Tran can be bringing into this. What do you think Dustin Klopping is going to do in the face of a possible Force of Will?
I think we do have to keep in mind specifically the cards that Dustin actually saw from Nam Tran in that game, which were Island, Brainstorm, and Sensei's Divining Top. He didn't see anything else, so he's probably assuming his opponent is on a Miracles deck. That's the most likely thing. There are decks like Painted Stone out there, but he's going to be sideboarding, probably assuming his opponent is on Miracles. And that means he's going to want to bring in his 4 Xantid Swarms, and he may go ahead and he's probably going to grab the Guttural Responses as well. I doubt he'll bring in the Forest. That's mostly just for Wasteland and tempo-y matchups. And then everything else in his sideboard is actually part of his wish board. Pyroclasm, Shattering Spree, Diminishing Returns, Reverent Silence, Infernal Tutor, Empty the Warrens, and Tendrils of Agony.
Nice.
The only card I could see you would ever consider bringing in maybe is the Reverent Silence if you're not planning to ever Burning Wish for it. It's the kind of a situation where you might bring it into your main deck, but that's not how a deck like Charbelcher works. It only wants the solutions for Burning Wish. It doesn't want to draw any of its random bricks when it's just trying to ritual off successfully. So I anticipate him bringing in just all those Xantid Swarms and Guttural Responses.
Nam Tran, on the other hand, I see a bunch of cards in his sideboard that are going to be relevant, 6 of them in my mind. But let's go to the other ones first. Ensnaring Bridge, Wormcoil Engine, Red Elemental Blast, Tormod's Crypt, Blood Moon. Those are all cards in his sideboard, but the cards I like, 3 Flusterstorms, that can stop Dustin Klopping from being able to build up the requisite mana, or if it's fighting against a Empty the Warrens, just stop all of the Empty the Warrens.
Yep, it's definitely one of the best cards against this strategy. Xantid Swarm is the big seller there.
Yeah, and the other one, Spellskite. A Spellskite on the table means that a Charbelcher can't actually kill you.
Oh, well, it can't kill you on the first shot.
And sometimes
it does take time to reload.
Sometimes it can't take the second shot.
Yeah, it's not a Desert Eagle or anything. It's more of a musket.
Yeah, a crossbow, a musket, something.
We're not looking for precision. We're just blowing holes through people real slowly.
And on the Twitterverse, a MTG Kobe who does pipe in that Brainstorm when it came in with Mercadian Masks was a card that we saw used in Rebels, and it's true counter Rebels did use Brainstorm. You can remember that Team Your Move Games back in around, I want to say 2000 and 2001, definitely used that as a part of their counter Rebels package. But again, the pickings were pretty slim up until the point where we got some really good fetch lands. Nam Tran now on the play, where he wants to be against a deck that could kill him on turn 1.
His opening hand not good enough, though. I did see City of Traders Scalding Tarn, so he already had more mana available in this game than the other one entirely. But it doesn't look like the rest of his hand held up. I think he had a Reb and maybe a Force, but without any of his combo pieces or ways to get one, Disruption's actually not that relevant. Post-board, Charbelcher has the ability to play through Disruption. We've already talked about the Xantid Swarms and Guttural Responses. So if he's not actually creating any pressure, the fact that he can stop Dustin from comboing him halfway or once in full is actually not that relevant, because Dustin will just eventually draw like 7 more cards and do it again.
Now let's pretend that Dustin Klopping had sat next to Nam Tran and knew that he was playing Painted Stone. Does that even change anything? Most of the rest of his board is a wish board, so...
If I knew my opponent was on Painted Stone, I probably would not bring in the Guttural Responses, I think. because you really just, you don't need that much for a deck that only has Force of Will and Flusterstorm to threaten you, and Flusterstorm is not affected by Guttural Response in the least. So I would just bring in the Swarms if I knew what my opponent was playing 100%. So that's kind of going to be the debate, I think.
Yeah. One of the things you can do with a Wish sideboard is if there are cards you like, but you don't want to wish for because they're too slow, you could board those in. But I don't see any cards that fit the bill in this case.
That's what I was discussing with the Reverend Silence, if he assumed his opponent was on counterbalance, but I don't think he wants to glut his deck. Like a deck like Charbelcher, that strategy is going to be rarely employed. A deck like High Tide, now that does that frequently. It obviously has a huge wish board, and it's pretty common for a High Tide player to board in a few of those wish board targets just because they figure, I'm never going to wish for this in this matchup, but if I draw it, it might actually be in time to be useful.
Tran doing a pile. I won't call it a shuffle. I can't remember who wrote about it fairly recently. I want to say it was Travis Wu, but the concept that the pile shuffle is a shuffle is a thing that probably needs to leave the Magic the Magic idea lands. You know, mostly piling is great for this. Count your deck, make sure you're presenting the right number of cards. That's great. But it is not, according to the floor rules, an actual shuffle. You need to get some riffles in there in order for your deck to really be considered shuffled.
Yeah, generally I like to pile shuffle, but when I do it between rounds. And the purpose is to just, before I put my deck in my deck box, make sure I have 60, make sure none of my sleeves are marked. And then once I do that, I'm kind of just back to actually figuring things out. Occasionally, you know, you need to stretch your arms. I might pile shuffle and mix up the patterns. Start doing some smiley faces within my sevens and all that, you know.
Just to cheer yourself up?
Yeah, you know.
Raise the spirits?
Raise morale. You know, tournaments can be trying times.
And let's see if this new hand for Tran does the ticket.
It's got an interesting
I see a Welder.
Yeah, he's got Welder, Grindstone, Flusterstorm, Great Furnace.
There we go. Maybe Dustin Klopping has a little bit of a surprise there when he sees that Welder, or maybe he knew all along.
Nam's mulligan, not really prepared to come down against Dustin, what with it being, you know, down to 4. If Dustin starts off strong, we see the Guttural Response, so I think we probably can safely assume that Dustin either overvalues Guttural Response or did in fact assume his opponent is playing a deck like Miracles, and he appears to just be going for it.
You know, let's rock it. Let's see what happens.
I would too.
How does that look? How does that red flame look?
He
apparently
apparently miscounted. So that's a mulligan to 6 for Dustin.
Oh, Tran. He has a big smile about that, I'm sure. We see the grindstone. Come on down.
He drew a Painter's Servant as well. This is actually pretty interesting. He draws a Lion's Eye Diamond. He's in business here.
All of those mulligans. He mulliganed down to 4 cards there.
Yeah.
And he is looking like he could be in it. Xantid Swarm. Poor Xantid Swarm does have a Goblin Welder on the other side of the table.
Oh man, I was sweating the top of that deck. A Lion's Eye Diamond would just allow Nam to get in it right now, but instead he's just going to jam for 1 with Goblin Welder and play a second Grindstone.
Look at that smile from Nam. He's like, yeah, here you go.
Dustin, he has a Jataxian Probe. He'll likely play it, and he'll get to see that Nam is actually quite close to executing him. The Painter's Servant is already in his hand, and a Flusterstorm, if Dustin doesn't try something this turn, might actually be able to shut him down as well.
Yeah, you said something a little bit ago about how a Magic tournament can be a very trying experience over the course of the day. It's a very, very long event. One of the things I love about a deck like Charbelcher, the game will most likely be over quickly. And so will the next one, and so will the next one. In between rounds, you get to hang out, do whatever you'd like, and get rested for the next round.
That is one of the benefits of playing quick decks. Nam draws a 3rd copy of Grindstone. Definitely not what he wanted to see. In fact, I would go so far as to say that any of the other 56 cards in his deck would probably have been more interesting to him.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Glenn Jones, and we're watching a combo match between an anemic Painted Stone. It did triple mulligan, and the opponent here has all of these sideboard cards, Xantid Swarm, Guttural Response, but all of those cards mean he's less apt to go off himself.
Yeah, it actually appears that Dustin kept a hand that was going to use Rite of Flame exclusively to jump from 1 to 2 mana, which is a key jump in the Charbelcher deck. You can play significantly more rituals on 2 mana than you can on 1. And once he burned that Rite of Flame with some bad math, he could no longer make the leap. if he doesn't find a Spirit Guide or something similar, he might just get stuck and die to a land off the top for Nam Tran. Oh, he found one though. Tinderwall. Tinderwall, another way to jump from 1 to 2.
And now we are really close to the end. Is it over?
Well, we're up to 3 mana, nothing can be countered. Or up to 5 mana, nothing can be countered. 7. And if we have a Charbelcher, we might get him. If we have Empty the Warrens, though, Nam's still got outs.
Oh, this
and
is
plenty.
This is not over yet. I see an Empty in his hand.
Yeah, so do I. I don't know if he has a Belcher, though. And to be fair, if Dustin doesn't hit the correct number of cards before running into his Taiga, Nam could also actually get another shot at winning this game.
He's got 7 mana, 4 spells. Belcher?
Ooh, Belcher,
does that
all
work?
right. Let's sweat it.
Okay, now we're flipping the top.
We've got
1,
outs. Come on,
2,
Taiga.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
That's
8, 9. Boom, you are dead.
Yep, and he's going to go ahead and prove that he does in fact have a Taiga in his deck. There
it is. Nam Tran defeated handily by Dustin Klopping. Charbelcher advances to a 7-0 record.
Wow.
Now
That was a pretty good sweat considering the Moldifor.
absolutely. I mean, he was very close to being able to win there. Dustin Klopping, with this 7-0, and given how small this 9-round tournament is, he can very, very safely double draw in.
Yeah, he's almost certainly going to be double drawing in. There's only a possibility for one other undefeated player. As we mentioned, there's an 18-pointer and a 16-pointer playing this very round over on the Karn table. We'll be seeing if we're transferring over to that table now. But whoever wins that match will very likely be drawing with Dustin, with the possible exception of Kevin Gerhardt. If